I'm going to start by placing my transfer sheet face down on the center of my stone, being very careful not to touch the surface of my stone. I'm marking out a rectangle on the newsprint covering the stone. I use a drafting triangle to align my ruler and make sure that the corners are at 90 degrees. Transfer registration marks in the center of both the short sides of the rectangle. It's important from time to time to lift the newsprint and check the transfer to make sure that you're getting a good, clean transfer. When the transfer is complete, remove the transfer sheet. Apply a thin layer of acidified gum to the non-image areas, or in other words, the areas that will not accept ink but will attract water. Be careful not to touch the surface of the stone with your fingers, and be extra careful not to let any of the acidified gum touch the image area. After the gum has had a chance to dry thoroughly, you can lay down a ruler and scratch in the registration marks using an etching needle. Scratch across the mark on one end to designate the T mark. Apply a small amount of acidified gum into the registration marks to prohibit them from attracting ink. Prepare your inking slab with lithographic roll-up black. Roll up your inking slab with a leather roller using quick snap rolls to distribute the ink evenly. Using a shop towel, rub up the image area with asphaltum. This will create a printing base for the ink. I forgot to wear my rubber gloves while I was doing this, but it's important to wear gloves so you can protect your hands from contact with the asphaltum. Refold the shop towel to a clean surface and buff the asphaltum into the surface of the stone. Dip a fresh shop towel into some clean water and wipe off the acidified gum from the margins of the stone. Avoid wiping acidified gum from the margins into the image area of the stone. Open the shop towel to clean areas and continue to wipe. There is no need to scrub. Once the gum is just about removed, take a new shop towel with fresh water and wipe a thin film of water over the entire surface of the stone. With this stone in the dampened state, you can start to roll the ink onto the stone and develop the image. You begin with rolling lightly and quickly over the surface of the stone. At the inking slab, recharge the roller. Sometimes it's necessary to add another ribbon of ink. Using a clean cellulose sponge, wipe a thin film of water over the entire surface of the stone. Continue to roll onto the stone. You should start to see ink developing into the image. Continue the pattern of sponging and rolling and recharging your roller until the image is fully developed. Squeeze dirty water into an empty bowl and then squeeze clean water onto the stone. Sponge it around with one side of the sponge, flip the sponge around and pick up any excess water. As the image develops, you need to slow down your rolling pattern to distribute more ink from the roller to the stone. If the surface of the stone begins to dry out while you're rolling, it will distribute ink into the non-image area. Simply sponge the stone and roll again, and you'll pick up that ink. It generally takes between 6 to 8 cycles of sponging, rolling, and recharging the roller before the stone is fully inked. After the last rolling pass, sponge the stone to pick up any scum off the margins, and then let the stone dry. Sprinkle rosin dust onto the surface of the stone. The rosin dust will make the ink more robust in preparation for resisting an acid etch. Brush the excess rosin off into a tray. Sprinkle talc, or French chalk, onto the surface of the stone and brush it around. The talc will help the ink to dry out quickly and will also aid in preparing the ink for etching. Measure an ounce of pure gum arabic into a beaker. Mix 1 drop of phosphoric acid and 2 drops of nitric acid into the ounce of gum arabic to prepare your etch. The application of this acid etch will serve to stabilize the non-image areas so that they attract water, and the image areas to attract ink. I'm usually very good about wearing gloves and eye protection while handling the acids, and I don't know why I forgot to do that while recording this video, but it's very important to wear those gloves and eye protection while handling the acids. To keep the acids contained in a safe environment, and I wash out the eyedroppers very carefully to make sure that they don't become corroded. After thoroughly mixing the gum arabic and the acid together to create the etch, I distribute the etch onto the surface of the stone and agitate it across the entire surface of the stone using a cheap 2-inch house painting brush. Using a sponge reserved for etch, wipe up the etch from the surface of the stone. Wrap a yard of cheesecloth into a tight pad and buff the surface of the stone until it is nice and dry and smooth to the touch. With a dry layer of black ink and a dry layer of adsorbed gum, the stone is referred to as closed. It can be stored for printing later, or it can be reopened and inked up in the appropriate color for printing on the same day. Clean the surface of the press, including underneath where the stone was sitting, being very careful not to break the stone. Any residual gum left underneath the stone will stick the stone to the press bed.